Welcome to the Big Me Kickoff. I am your host, Kevin Noon. It is Friday, August 29th. Um, yes, I did shave. No, it was not a matter of one comment or another comment coaxing me into shaving. I just decided that I needed to shave. I was not happy with the beard. It was kind of a mess, and we took care of that. So we are, let's change the bug here. Whoops. There we go. Big Me kickoff. We are inside of 24 hours from the Ohio State Texas game, a game that everybody's been looking forward to, myself included. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. You will dictate how long we talk by the amount of questions we get. I didn't prepare anything. I never do. Well, I don't want to say I never do. I didn't today because generally y'all carry the water for me. Y'all, ask me the questions and everything else. So we'll get to some hellos here in a second. I certainly see some of my friends, people that I've actually have even reached out and tried to talk to today at this point. But let's kind of get there as we get to this point. Florida Buckeye, happy game day eve, Buckeye faithful, OH. And another one from Florida Buckeye, yo Kevin, out at the Florida Buckeye Bar and Grill patio with 6 racks of baby backs on the smoker for game day. Gotta love that. Got to get, got to have, proper nourishment for the game. I guarantee you that the food at the Florida Buckeye Bar and Grill patio will be better than the food in the press box at the Ohio Stadium. And, it is what it is. You can't, you don't thumb your nose at a quote unquote a free meal, but with it being a noon game, it'll be powdered eggs, sausage, home fries or hash browns of some sort. Sometimes we do get lucky and they do bring out a couple of trays of like cinnamon rolls. I do like a cinnamon roll. I need that sugar intake. But if I'm smart tomorrow, I will hit Wendy's or Taco Bell, someplace with a breakfast just to get a little bit of a base in my stomach. I have friends that have tailgates, so I can try to get there, but we're going to be monumentally busy. So, keep it locked in at Buckeye Huddle throughout the day. I'm sure we'll have a pregame show of some sort. I'm sure we will have something when the availability report comes out. And then, of course, we have our postgame show. And the postgame show is awesome. Mark, our team of experts, carry the first, 30 minutes. Then we go to the Ryan Day presser. We go to anybody else that's at the podium. We throw it back to our experts for a little bit. And then we get Tom and Tony turned around, get them on. We go 2.5 hours. I mean, I guess it just depends on how the game goes with how long it is. But keep it locked in here at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. While we're paying some bills, now is the time, if you are not a member over at Buckeye Huddle, to become a member at Buckeye Huddle. What are you waiting for? The Texas game is tomorrow. That is, Kevin, I love what you guys do on the channel. Is how can I support you? I don't want to necessarily do a super chat. The best way you can support us is by signing up to Buckeye Huddle. Mark covering recruiting, Tom, Tony, and myself covering the team, Ross and his team of experts covering X's and O's. We've got Andrew Ellis there as well. I mean, we've got it's just a great roster of staffers. So I urge you, if you're not a member, you've never been a member, check us out. Even if it's for a month, check us out, BuckeyeHuddle.com. If you've been a member and you let it lapse, well, don't do that. We need your support 12 months a year, not just 6 months a year, not just 8 months a year, but 12 months a year. So check us out. Sign back up the Buckeye Huddle. Tell them that Noon sent you. That means the world to me. Mika Hanna, hey everyone, go Bucks. Hey, how's it going, Mika? Traded a couple emails with you this morning. Hope all is well. Doug Shepard with an OH, Florida Buckeye with an IO. Chadwick was what's up, Kev Dog, TGIF. Yep, it is Friday. That is for certain. You got that going on. It's all love over here. Says, let's go Buckeyes. We got Karen Noble with an IO as well. Lucifer's Lair, go Bucks. Hey, Kev, the 31, Hornies 21. And also asking, did I find my razor? I've always known where my razor has been. I had that beard for a year or so. It always was a little splotchy. It just never really felt right. It always kind of felt like a temporary move. Got a lot going on, and just I just needed to change some things up. But I digress. So I made the decision last week that I was going to shave it. I just wasn't sure what day I was going to do it, and today was the day. Now I haven't gone in and really done a shave. I mean, there's still some stubble and everything else. And I don't mind the stubble look, but I will shave it for real. Troy V gonna be putting a 6 pound short rib on the smoker around 2 a.m. so I can have a well rested smoky goodness food for the game. Absolutely. It's what you got to do. If I were not working the game and I were home, I would probably do a pork shoulder, do some, do pulled pork, maybe make a Carolina barbecue sauce of some sort, maybe something a little bit more mustard based. Certainly enjoy that. Maybe some potato salad. I don't know. I don't want to think about it because I'm going to be having powdered eggs. No, I'm going to my buddy's tailgate. I'm going to my buddy's tailgate, and hopefully, problem is I get there before a lot of the food is ready, so I'm eating all of like the buffalo chicken dip, and I feel like a jerk because I don't want to eat all of their buffalo chicken dip, but it is what it is. Uh, LL is Steve. Well, now I know who it is. So, hello, Steve. Terry says, "Hey, Kevin, what time am I getting to the shoe?" It's, I'm thinking I would like to be parked by 8:30 if I can't sleep. People are like, "Wow, that's awesome. You're so excited." No, I just can't sleep anymore. My body just doesn't like to sleep. So I don't know what is going on with that. It's a predicament that I'm not a fan of at all. So, I could get there a little bit earlier. I don't want to get there any later. Again, just a lot to do being game one of the season. Ohio bookseller, let's get here. This early in the season, I'm looking for the development of our players. The running backs, for example, have a lot to live up to. Can we continue the tradition of pancake blocks out of the backfield? I think this offensive line is going to be pretty good, and that should give the running backs some opportunities. I think that this line, you know, we get so caught up on the term starter, and rightfully so in a lot of regards, because if you're starting, that means something. But there is some situational type of things. How many game ready linemen do they have? Is it six? Is it five? Is it seven? Is it eight? I mean, I don't think it's eight, but I think seven is probably pretty safe. I'll be curious to see if Philip Daniels holds on to the right tackle position over Ethan Oniawa. I mean, obviously, we know that Austin Sareveld is going to be your left tackle. We've always kind of known what the interior line is going to look like, but and don't sleep on. Ohio State runs a lot of 12, a lot of one back two tights, and what the tight ends are able to do in the blocking game as well. If anybody who spends time over at Buckeye Huddle has seen my by the numbers piece. In the previous four games in this series, Texas is running on average for 99 yards in this game. Ohio State's running for like 118. So neither team is exactly lighting the world on fire on the ground. But is that a matter of that neither team can run the ball, or is it a matter of that the defense is pretty good? Well, it's a matter of the defense being pretty good, in my opinion. And that's something that we've got to factor into the equation. So to Ohio bookseller, I say this: don't worry if Ohio State is not, super dominant and going for 200, 220 on the ground. It's number one team in the nation. They're going against, a hell of an opponent. So you're going to, you're gonna run into that in a certain extent. So we got that. Mika says, "Hey Kev, or hey Kevin, good to see you, buddy. We'll trade messages again. I did reach out. Just again, was going to just kind of update you on some things that are going on, but it's immaterial when it comes time for the show. I mean, I certainly have talked to a couple of people offline or whatever. But I'm appreciative of being around my family, even though we got a small number right now. I did not put this show on Twitter, and that's because obviously we want people to to watch us primarily on Facebook or primarily on YouTube and secondarily on Facebook. And yeah, I could inflate the numbers by doing this on Twitter, but ultimately, we got a brand to build and protect and everything else. And I want to kind of control where the message is. So that's what we're doing. So again, if the number doesn't get to be that big, this is going to be a shorter show. If the number gets big, the questions, keep coming in. Obviously super chats keep us around. But again, first and foremost, the number one way you can support us is by signing up for BuckeyeHuddle.com. And again, for the price of a crummy delivery pizza, less than that, you can get a month of Tom, Tony, myself, Mark, Ross, Devin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Andrew Ellis, you know, the huddle board, which is a fantastic message board. You can have, you can have all of that. And somebody just sent me a note behind the scenes. So I want to thank you. You know who you are. Just getting that right now, that goes a long way. But signing up for Buckeye Huddle is far and away the best way you can support us. Show us the love. Check us out at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Florida Buckeye, great shows with Tom reviewing strengths and weaknesses. Thoughts on our D line getting through a new Texas O line. I think that I've talked to 3 different Texas experts, all guys that I trust, and they all work for different outlets. So it's not like I'm getting company line by 3. It's not like somebody says, we're going to say this and everybody needs to go out and pair it. And the concern about the offensive line is between moderate plus and significant. So what does, one of the big things you have to remember is Arch Manning's mobility. And is Arch, if you sit there and you really come after the quarterback, you better have contained, because how many times does he have to run away from a slower, defensive lineman and turn a 4-yard loss into a 6-yard gain before you're like, well, maybe we need to reassess what we're doing. But I do think that there is the opportunity. Now, who on the Ohio State defensive line is going to be the lead of production? I don't know. I mean, you don't have JT Tuimoloau, you don't have Jack Sawyer, you don't have Ty Hamilton, you don't have Tyleik Williams. You lose a lot there. So in losing all of that, do you go outside of the program? Is it Bo Atkinson, who may have a ton of experience from his Carolina days? Is this the chance that Kenyatta Jackson is able to string together enough time to really light things on fire? Caden Curry has been impossible to block his entire career. Is it Caden Curry? I think you need to go in with a plan. I don't think you can just say pin your ears back and just get after them. I think Texas is too talented for that type of strategy to work. But I think that you need to have something of where you find a happy medium of keeping contained and getting after the quarterback, because you've got to speed Arch up. Because if you don't speed Arch up, he's going to pick you apart. So what that looks like, I don't know. Matt Patricia not returning my calls to give me that answer, but we'll all be watching. Russ says, thanks for doing this, Kevin. Of course, Russ. I have my days of where I'm like, oh, I'm so pumped to do a show. I have some days where I'm just like, I'm just not necessarily feeling it. Again, I don't know how much I was feeling it this morning. But I'm glad to be here with y'all. I'm glad to be here with y'all for sure. Mika Hanna agrees with Russ. Lucifer's Lair. I think we give Arch more than he wants. I think Sayin picks their DBs apart. Just saying. Go Bucks. So, let's go to Ohio State on offense and what that looks like and what that may mean. And we're looking at a Texas secondary that loses a couple of key pieces, and that's important. Now, they still have Michael Taffy back. They still have Malik Muhammad. They still have talent. Just because they're having to go to their 2s at some position, or who were 2s last year, who are 1s this year, doesn't mean, oh, well, they're they're toast. No, they're not toast. I mean, this is still a really good defense. I think that the secondary is of the three levels of the defense. I think the secondary is the one that has the most deficiencies. So, with that being said, why not try to go vertical? Now, with a first year starting quarterback, how much do you go vertical? Do you go over the middle? Do you throw outside the numbers? Do you just throw short? We're going to go station to station here. We're going to really, look to Max Clare and guys like that. Brian Hartline didn't return my calls either. So I don't necessarily know, I don't necessarily know the plan there, but I think that you can't come out and sit there and say we're going to bubble wrap all of our young players to a point that they can't breathe. That doesn't work. That doesn't, that doesn't work. So you need to sit there and run your offense. I mean, if it's your offense for a reason, these guys are starters for a reason. You need to go for it. Mika Hanna says, I think Kenyatta Jackson goes off. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. It's certainly his turn. It's certainly time for him to do it. I mean, he's got the talent, but what does it look like? And let's not forget, while Texas's offensive line may not be what Texas wants it to be at this point, the dudes are still talented. They ended up at Texas for a reason. So, you kind of go from there. Russ says, I know Arch is great, but coming into the shoe could affect him enough. I think we win 24-17. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to put it on everybody else and say, why don't you put your scores in there? We will run through the scores as I see them. I mean, I'm going to stay kind of going in order with questions, but yeah, it's difficult now. Is Ohio Stadium going into Beaver Stadium at Penn State for like a whiteout? No. Hashtag this should be a night game. I get it. I get it. I don't disagree that this should be a night game, but it's not. But it's going to be incumbent upon everybody who's there to be as loud as possible at all the right times. Now that means when Texas is on offense, not when Ohio State's on offense. Ohio State needs to hear snap counts and things like that. But they're doing some new things with game management to where the fans can earn a Buckeye and things like that. So be loud, be present, all of that good stuff. Lucifer's Lair says, yep, Bucks win by 7-10 OH. Then he jumps in too and says, Day said he's got free reign. Yeah, but we all say lots of things. We all say lots of things and we can mean it in the moment. But what happens when it becomes, white knuckle time because this game is close, late? Do you fall into old habits? And and how do those old habits translate to a new quarterback for Ohio State? I mean, because honestly, during Urban Meyer, when it was white knuckle time, it was, quarterback power. Obviously, during Ryan Day, there's been a lot of passing, passing on 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, because the run game hasn't necessarily been there. Wouldn't it be great if Ohio State's run game could be consistent enough to, you need 2 and you pick up 4 and you limit the white knuckle time and things like that. So, we'll see. We'll see. So, to Lucifer's Lair, what does free reign look like? TBD. TBD, to be determined. Mika Hanna says, I think we will have the number 1 defense in the country this year and lead the nation in sacks and TFLs. I think it's more likely that they're number 1 defense in the nation, leading the nation in sacks and TFLs. I don't know. Just based on the way that Ohio State plays, the fact that Ohio State isn't maybe one of your bigger blitzing teams in the nation, that may be a little bit more difficult to get home with. I mean, could I sit there and say that maybe they would lead the Big Ten in sacks? I don't know. I watched Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Nebraska all play last night. Needless to say, I wasn't super impressed with any of those defenses. So, at least Ohio State isn't going to finish in the bottom 3. And certainly Rutgers. Holy goodness. Rutgers defense was brutal last night, giving up whatever that was, like 31 to Ohio University. And that doesn't, I'm not taking anything away from Ohio University, and Ohio State's going to have to play Ohio University here in September. But Rutgers's defense was not very good. Jared L. Hey, Kevin, how would you balance giving San a game plan that he can build his confidence and get him rolling, but also utilizes elite weaponry you have on the outside? Not an OC. So, fortunately, I don't have to give a super detailed answer here. I wouldn't think, but I think that at this point, you just set up some easy throws. You just scheme guys open, and I mean, you're not going to want to sit there and put Sayan out there and have him throw a bunch of 50-50 balls, because game one, 50-50 ends up being more like 20-80, and turnovers are an issue. An interesting fact, by the way, Ohio State has forced at least one interception in every game that it has played Texas. It has picked Texas off 5 times. Those have happened over the 4 games. There's been one interception in each game, and obviously 2 in another. So, we'll see what Ohio State's able to do on defense, but you don't want to sit there and you want to build confidence, but you don't want to lose confidence by having him throw into the tightest of windows. And Texas is going to create some tight windows just based on the talent that it has. I mean, I still think that one of the key factors is going to be the ability for Ohio State to run the ball. If Ohio State is able to run the ball, if Ohio State is able to do some of these types of things, it's going to take a lot of pressure off of Say, and it's going to take a lot of pressure off of people. So I think that I think all of that is very important. Colby TS says Andrew Makuba did leave for the NFL, but D Williams was a starter over him before he got hurt early in the season. So safety should be better this year. I am the first one to admit I am not sleeping on Texas at all. Maybe I'm sleeping a little on the offensive line. Maybe I'm sleeping on the receivers not named Wingo and Moore. Their Stanford transfer is somewhere between extremely limited and out for this game. I mean, he would have been kind of their third weapon there. I think that the Cal transfer that they got at tight end, I think he's really good. I just think that when you look at Colin Simmons, when you look at Anthony Hill Jr., you look at some of these guys and their units, I think that they're further ahead than maybe where the secondary is. Now, that's all well and good if you think that you can pick on the secondary. If you don't have time to get out there and set your feet and do all those things, does any of that matter? No. No, Ohio State's going to have to be able to protect Sayan. Ohio State's going to be able to have to get a push with the line to establish a run game. I think all of that is incredibly important. So I don't, and I'm not saying that Colby is saying that I was being disrespectful toward Texas. No, I'm not insinuating any of that. I'm just saying that it's a case of, I think that the secondary is not as far along as they are, the other position groups are, but that's just the extreme respect I have for Hill and Simmons. I just think they're two of the most exciting defensive players in the nation. No Longer the Man says first to 24 wins. I don't know if anybody's getting to 24 in this game. I just don't know. Unders have looked really good, and I'm not here to set betting lines or anything like that. Unders have looked really good, and I think in a game, a week one game between two really good defenses, I think that the under looks good here as well. Now, you know what also hits the under? Like 24-7. Somebody, 24-10 hits the under. So that's not to say that somebody can't get to 24. I just think the defenses are ahead of the offenses, and I think that the winner scores 21, and I'll get into my pick here before we end the show. Terry says Texas offensive lineman Trevor Gooseby is expected to wear a club on his hand during tomorrow's game. That'll keep him largely from holding with the club on there, unless he wraps that meat hook around somebody and turns them. But not ideal. It's certainly not ideal to have to play a position like that, with the club, but it is what it is, and you just kind of have to go from there. Mika Hanna says 35-21 Bucks. We will pull away late. That would be the over. Again, I'm not saying that I'm a terrible bettor. I mean, I really am. I think that the under is going to come home, which means maybe you should bet the over. But I just think that the under is going to come home. 56 points feels like a lot of points. Feels like a lot of points. I mean, what was the total in the CFP championship game? It was less than that. It was certainly less than that. I mean, so you sit there and that was 32. That was 42 points. The most that we've ever seen scored in this series is 47, and that was the '05 game, 25-22 Texas. So again, what does any of that have to do with the price of tea in China today? Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing, but I just like the under. Troy V likes the 35 number 2, 35-14. Noise puts their new O-line behind the sticks with a few false starts, and we score on defense. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I think that the crowd should be impactful. I know that noon games can be a little sleepy, but noon games against the number one team in the nation, I think that kind of is a great equalizer. Um, Scoring on defense, that one, that I'm sure there's a nice prop bet out there for that. I don't know if that's necessarily the direction that I see everything. Somebody just sent me a text, and I'm having to check on my parking pass for uh okay for the game. So there you go. I mean, again, 35-14 is 49 points. I think that's over as well. Again, people maybe are learning to bet opposite of how I bet, and maybe that works. Lucifer's Lair says, light them up. Doug Shepard says, I want to say 31-13, but I think it's going to be close. 2017 Buckeyes. That would be the under. So you got that. Mika Hanna says, hey, Terry. Troy V says, heck, Doug, I want to say 72-0, but I'm being rational today. Yeah, rationality is good. Russ says, I hope so, Mika. Sonny and Arvell are going to surprise Texas. I mean, I think Arvell is going to be a big surprise for a lot of people. I don't think it's a case of where people are going to be like, I didn't know who the hell this guy was, but I think he's going to punch above his weight class. I think he's going to have a really good year. No Longer the Man says, first play by OSU goes to number 4, screen pass. That's better than like a jet sweep to the short side, which would just send Ohio State fans into a murdering rage. So let's not do that. I'm gonna say the cynic in me wants to say people's off tackle. Maybe the more fun part of me, which I don't know who that guy is right now, is going to say play action. Run a little play action and find something, maybe declare. I don't know. Everybody's going to expect them to try and get Jeremiah involved early and often, and Jeremiah is good enough that even if it's going to him, maybe you can't shut him down. Though Texas did last year. So we'll see. We'll see. We got Mika. Matty P wants active linebackers too. Silver Bullets are back, baby. Let's see what happens. I think that when you add Peyton Pierce to the linebacker mix as your third linebacker, and then you start getting into some of the young guys. Riley Pettijohn is in that mix. Certainly don't want to sleep on young guys like Eli Lee, who redshirted. I mean, you got TJ Alford. I mean, you're going to have Garrett Stover. I think Garrett Stover is still kind of in the lab learning the position, because let's not forget he played safety in high school. He did slide down a little bit, but he played safety, so he's having to kind of learn some things there. Edward Carino, how are you doing? Buckeyes win 21-17. That is my score. That is the score I picked. I'm not saying that I have a copyright to it. You came to the score your own way. I'm sure that our staff predictions will be on the site at some point today, maybe this evening. Apparently they're up now. So I will post the link so you can open that in a different window. Don't leave us, but I'm going to post the link to our staff predictions. I have not seen what anybody else has written at this point. So I'm not changing anything, but I did pick 21-17. So I'm looking one Ohio State, two Ohio State, a Texas. So it's 2-1. Grok picked Ohio State 3-1. Another one 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, 6-2. So of 8 selections, 6 picked Ohio State. So take it for what it's worth. Um, Nationally, I think that it's more than 50% of the experts are picking Texas. I mean, I get it. They're the number one team in the nation. It's got to be worth something. Maybe not necessarily. I mean, I think home field means something. I think this Ohio State team's pretty good. I think we're going to be in for a really good game. What do you think about Bo? Do you think he'll get some good touches tomorrow? Bo Jackson is, I think he's a tremendous player. Could he, I mean, could he get a couple of touches? Sure. I mean, the goal is to win the game. He's got 2 games to sit there and get a lot of touches, and that's called Grambling, and that's called Ohio University. If you feel that your best opportunity out of the gate, game 1, is with James Peoples and CJ Donaldson, they should see the majority of the catches or the touches. But I really do think that Bo Jackson is going to be somebody who figures into the plans this year. He's going to be more than window dressing. He's going to be more than, I kind of liken this to Dallin Hayden's difficult career at Ohio State. And I use the term difficult because every time Dallin would be given ample opportunity, he would perform, and then he would not be rewarded with more playing time. So I don't know what the hell happened with that. I think we're going to see Carlos Loughlin handle his young running back room a little bit differently. Now, last year when you had Trevion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, you did not have an opportunity necessarily to share the rock a lot. If Trevion and Quinshon were not getting 24 combined touches or whatever, what are we doing here? And if you only have 60 offensive plays, while 24, we're still, we're not near 50%, but you're going to have some Q run in there. You're going to have some other things. You need to figure out a balance. So I'm going to say this about Bo. His time is coming sooner rather than later. Is his time coming tomorrow? I'm not so sure on that. Colby says, yeah, the Stanford wide receiver, I would say, is 100% out. He hasn't practiced in 2 weeks, and no one really knows what his injury is. Again, I talked to somebody in the last couple of days, I'm just going to leave it at that, who covers Texas, who said he was out. But I also know that crazy stuff happens. So I cracked the door open. I left the door cracked open a little bit just in case he comes out there, and I don't want to do a show on Monday and have people be like, you said this guy was out. No, I said he was likely out. So I'm leaving, I'm leaving the door open just a little bit. We're here at the bottom of the hour, a couple minutes past that. Let's reset. You're watching the Big Me Kickoff here at Buckeye Huddle. You're either catching us on YouTube or Facebook, or you're listening after the fact on our podcasting platforms. What you can do to help us out, first and foremost, on YouTube is you can sit there and subscribe to the channel. Don't cost nothing. Subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell. All of that helps us out. If you're watching us on Facebook, you want to support us, you can send us stars. Stars equal money, apparently. So you can do that, and you can super chat on YouTube. But the best thing you can do, and somebody gave me grief about, why are you trying to, why are you talking so much about Buckeye Huddle? Well, 1, because I believe in it. 2, because I'm employed there. And 3, I think that that's the place that y'all need to be. I think that this is the time, get in our world famous, game threads, get all of the analysis, there's a lot of stuff that we do with Ross Fulton that's kind of, quote unquote, behind the paywall, because this is our job. We got to do that. This is what we do for a living. So, we gotta do that. So check us out at BuckeyeHuddle.com. It is honestly a hoot. I think you will have a lot of fun. I know a lot of you are familiar there. Some of you I've seen on there before and I don't see now or whatever. Sign back up. Just do it. Just do it. It would mean the world to me. Let's just keep going here. Colby says to Edward Carino, got the same score, just flipped in Texas's favor, but who knows? Believe that was the 21-17 score, so you got that. Florida Buckeye, just win, baby. I'd love to be comfortable with a lead throughout the game, but I'll take a 1-point win. That's all you need in this type of game. I want style points. You're playing, if you're Ohio State, you're playing the number one team in the nation. If you're Texas, you're playing the number two team or number three, depending on your poll persuasion in their building. You're on the road and playing them in their building. You could win this game by 0.1 points, and it's going to be an awesome win. It's going to be one of those wins that's going to be talked about all season when talking about your resume. So big win, close win, just win. I mean, just win. Terry says, if Sayan can keep his composure and play in control like he did in the spring game, I'm being bold, 35-20 Buckeyes. Another over right there, another over score. The thing is, let's not forget that the spring game was thud. There was a minute where you could go after the quarterbacks where they made them live, but it was a thud game. It's really hard. In some ways, I hate that spring games are televised because it gives an unrealistic view of, well, this is what the team should look like. I mean, yeah, they're going to go through, a bunch more practices in the fall. They're going to go through conditioning in the summer and everything else, but they did all of this in spring. I take kind of the spring game and just cast it out to sea. It doesn't mean anything to me. I watched the spring game on DVR once and then deleted it because I just was like, it's just unrealistic. And so there we go. Somebody just sent me a text. I want to hit them back really quick. Let me give you a shout after my show. All right. So there you go. Terry says hi to Mika. I'm nervous already. Again, as I said, there is the link. You're not going to be able to click it on the screen. You're going to have to click it in the chat for our predictions. Terry says, what is my biggest concern for the game? Arch running is mine. I think that there's something to be said about that. That is a great equalizer. Mobile quarterbacks are always going to be an issue. I think that the biggest concern for me is Ohio State's interior defensive line depth. Edric has been, banged up a little bit, whether or not he's 100%, 80%, 60%, we're going to have to kind of see on that one. But Arch running certainly is a concern. I'm more concerned about Arch's legs than I am about, maybe not his arm. I'm concerned about his arm too, but I'm more concerned about Arch the runner than I am about Wisner or Baxter or Wisner and Baxter being runners. And again, that goes back to the historical that you're only getting like 99 yards a game if you're Texas against Ohio State. But again, 3 of those games were 15 years plus ago. Jamal Charles isn't walking through that door. You're not having to stop Jamal Charles. You're having to stop entirely different backs. But I don't think that the Texas offensive line is necessarily. You're not leading with it. You're not leading with that line if you're Texas. That's not, hey, we're going to tell you all these platitudes about how great we are. Let's start with the offensive line. I think Colby TS, as the only Texas fan that I've seen in here at this point. Again, we kept this small. I didn't necessarily advertise it. I've got to get better about that, but we'll see. Robert Howard is in here. Sticker, gold pants, Buckeye. There we go. Got that going on. Oh wow, we're almost caught up. JG, appreciate your steady analysis, Kevin. We'll be enjoying a bottle of Welders this season as an ode to me. That's awesome. I'm assuming Weller Green just because that one is the easiest one to find right now, but I don't know. And then Colby says, the good thing about this game is that it won't penalize either team, win or lose. Hopefully both teams can come out of it injury free. And that's ultimately the thing. you hate to see injuries, you hate to see, seasons end. I mean, you have such a finite amount of time for playing football. You spend 350 days a year practicing football, whether or not it's organized practice with coaches and everything else, or you're in the weight room, or you're working out in small groups or things like that. Don't take away those types of games. So I certainly agree. As I said, my score is going to be 21-17 Ohio State. I just think this is going to be a game going into the fourth quarter. I think both these teams, it's going to be a rock fight. I think that we're going to see both teams push and push and push and push, and we're going to see some fourth down stops, and we're going to see things along those lines. But I think when it's all said and done, I think home field is going to be the thing that pushes Ohio State across that finish line. So we'll see. For those of you that have maybe joined us late, again, small number here. Yes, I have shaved my beard. No, it wasn't your comment or somebody else's comment. I've been thinking about shaving the beard for a couple of weeks now. It doesn't mean that a goatee couldn't appear now and then, but unfortunately, I don't think that, my facial hair does not grow in the way that I would like it to. I wish it were more consistent. I wish it were, a little bit more uniform. So we did the beard experiment for over a year. I got it out of my system. So there you go. Lucifer's Lair says the 31, them 21, go Bucks. Troy V says, I kind of think this game has huge implications on the year. Whoever wins will be able to have the best win of the season, and the conference will be able to boast superiority over the other. I don't think that the SEC is going to be able to sit there and say that Alabama's upcoming win against Wisconsin is like the marquee win in the nation. I'm sure Paul Feinbaum may say that, especially if Ohio State's able to win this game. But with that being said, you can have huge implications, but I don't think a loss, even to Colby's point, I don't think a loss is going to be costly for the team that loses. I mean, now if you go out and you lose 34-3, that's not good. That's not good. You want to play competitively, but I don't know if I see a scenario either way that we get 34-3. I just don't think either team can score 34 on the other. And I don't think anybody's going to come out, barring some extenuating circumstances. I don't think anybody's going to come out and just, lay an egg. Lucifer's Lair, hit the like button for Kevin. Absolutely. Hit that like button. Sign up for Buckeye Huddle too. Do it. I mean, but hitting the like button certainly helps us with the algorithm. We're trying to get to 29,000 subscribers, so subscribe to the channel. I'll give you an up-to-date number with where we are at. Give me a second. I was on one of the other channels. We're at 28,963 subscribers. So 37 away. 37 by tomorrow. It's going to be a concerted push, but if everybody in here does it, I mean, I'm sure there's probably at least 10 of you in here that are not, even Colby TS can do this. Even Colby TS can like us and help get us closer to 29,000. So do that. But again, I'm just saying, sign up for Buckeye Huddle. Troy V. Paul Feinbaum says a lot of things. He does. He does. He doesn't bother me as much as other people are bothered by him. I mean, I understand, you got to be P.T. Barnum sometimes, and he's P.T. Barnum. He's a showman, and he says things. And I'm not saying that he says things just to say them, but I'm also not saying that he doesn't say things just to say them. So you got all of that there. But yeah, we are caught up, but I'll hang tight with you for another couple minutes. Again, as I said, I didn't know we could go 30 minutes on the show. We could go a lot longer. My lack of promotion on the show didn't necessarily help the numbers, but that's fine because it's Friday. I mean, people are trying to get work done so they can start their weekend early. I guess this is Labor Day weekend. I mean, I'm laboring every day. So, why not take advantage of it? People may not be at their computers. Again, I decided to do this show late last night. Just did not put out a lot of promotion because I just didn't know how I was feeling about the show. But we just hit 45 minutes. That's a good show. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Be sure to be with us all day tomorrow. Pre-game coverage, post-game coverage, all of that. I mean, analysis coming out, recruiting reactions. Probably recruiting reactions may not be till Sunday. So, if we don't have a lot of them immediately, you got to let them get home. Got to let them get home. We can't talk to them while they're on their visits per se. So, check it all out at BuckeyeHuddle.com. But until then, congratulations. Well, we got another comment. We got a couple more. Nope, we got a couple more. Colby says, y'all have a good Friday and best of luck tomorrow. Hook 'em. Thank you. Have a good Friday yourself, Colby. Terry Slusher, Marty Smith said the LSU Clemson winner will jump number 1 in the AP poll. That's some ESPN. I had to say that one right. Logic right there. Thinking Texas will lose, perhaps. I don't know if I necessarily agree with what Marty is saying there. I get it. I mean, it's better from Marty than from Peter Burns. Peter Burns is totally on the ESPN SEC dole. Lucifer Slayer says, I work from home, so I've started a little early. There you go. That works. Oops, we already got that one from Colby. No longer the man. Why are the refs from the SEC? Because that's the way the deal was signed. So in theory, that means that the refs next year in Austin will be from the Big Ten. And I mean, I've seen that done a lot of times where, all right, we don't have home field, but we're bringing the refs. So it's a way to equalize some things. But I've certainly seen contracts go the other way, that the home schools conference refs are going to do that game. So it is what it is. Charles says, what are my plans from now until the game? I am going to finish a little work once I'm out. Well, I got to get this show posted onto our podcasting side, just for the people who listen to it as a podcast. That'll take me 10 minutes. Then I've got a little bit of work to do. I'm going to be at the Huber Heights Wayne Pickerington Central football game tonight, checking out Jair Brown. So I've got that to do, and then I'll come home and watch maybe some late football, and then head into the game at I think I'm leaving the house like 7:45 tomorrow morning, maybe a couple minutes earlier. For those who weren't earlier, we were talking about I try to go and hit a drive-through for some breakfast before the game. I really should just go to the supermarket and buy some of those Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwiches, just because it's cheaper to do it that way. But we'll see. Terry says, SEC refs, very interesting. Oh boy. You've had to endure SEC refs in the postseason. I mean, it is what it is. I know that everybody wants to sit there and say that, well, if the refs are from a certain conference, they're going to favor who's cutting their check. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the state of officiating right now, I think a bad call is a bad call is a bad call. Replay should clean a lot of this up. Does it? No, not really. But I mean, replay should clean a lot of this up. Lucifer's Lair, see ya. Go Bucks. Good job. Oh, and I got a phone call too that I got to make as soon as I'm done with all of this. Somebody reaching out to me to just see how some things are happening. So I'm going to do that as well. But now that we're caught up and we're closer almost to 50 minutes, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Be sure to keep it locked in here to youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Check us out on our Facebook page. Sign up for Buckeye Huddle. Do it. I'm not a Zoolander scene, not a Star Wars scene, but we've seen all the memes. Just do it. Check us out. You won't be disappointed. But until we talk again, probably Monday, have a great day. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game. Be safe. And let's see what happens.